Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttattooandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing.
Hey, it's Jeff McNichol down here at Mom's Music, 1900 Melwood Avenue. I was just thinking, when I was a kid, the magic was at Frankfort Avenue, the Mom's Music at Frankfort Avenue, and I used to beg people to get a ride down there just to hang out with the guys and see all the cool gear. Now that I'm the owner of this store, it's like a dream come true. We're recreating the magic with the vibe that we used to have at the old store. We're carrying all the gear that you're going to possibly want. We're giving you the outstanding service and personal attention that you deserve. Yeah, so we've got the great guitar shop here. We're carrying USA Fender, USA Gibson, Paul Reed Smith, Gretsch, Jackson, Charvel, anything you could possibly want, we're going to have it for you. Mom's is and always will be Louisville's music store.
Thank you for tuning into the Metal Forge. I am Mark Jackson and I am your host. The premise of the show is pretty simple. Awesome interviews and awesome music. If you want to contact me, hit me up at metalforgeradio@gmail.com or visit the website metalforgeradio.com. And now, let's get this show on the road. Hey Metalheads, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Metal Forge. I'm Mark Jackson, I am your host. This week I have a special edition show. It's actually called REFORGED, and what that is where if I've had a person on the show before and they're coming back for their second appearance or multiple appearance on the show, I'm going to call that REFORGED because it's going to be a little bit different than the initial episode, where the initial episode, you know, we're getting to know these people, getting to know these artists, getting to know these musicians, these visual artists that I've had on the show, so on and so forth. But the REFORGED episodes are set out for just, hey, what's going on with your life now kind of stuff. You know, let's talk about that. We already know you, we've met you before, we're just getting some cool updates. And Rob and Kyle both are super rad dudes, and they're going to be here momentarily, so stick around, we're going to talk to them in a minute. Last week, you know, I did give a question of the week, but for some reason, I didn't get near the response on that question like I thought I would. And that could be attributed to two things, usually. You didn't like the question, which is totally understandable. It was an extremely hard question. And the other is, I'm thinking, this is what I think the issue is here, is that I believe I'm being shadow banned on Facebook, and when I started the page, I was getting tons of likes from people on there, and as you know, the year has went on, ever since 2020, the Facebook likes have kind of really went down, but the Instagram stuff has really went up. So I don't know if I'm being shadow banned on Facebook, and now Instagram is starting to feel that as well, or it was, like I said, you know, just a question that y'all really didn't get into. So I'm going to put that on hold for this week. We're going to see if we get any more replies for next week. And going into July, I really have some awesome guests coming on the show. So stay tuned. We're going to be getting the info out on the website. so you can send in your questions to ask these artists, because they're going to be absolutely awesome. And one of them has a brand new album coming out on July 16th, so I don't know if he's going to be on that day or the following week of July 23rd. We're going to see how things go. It's going to be awesome, trust me. But I did want to talk about something else before we jumped into the Ryghar episode. Earlier this week, Metallica announced the Black Album Remastered box set. And it retails for $240 on their website. And I looked at it, I looked at the content, and I was absolutely blown away, because they've got, of course, different editions of the set. They've got like a 3 CD set, which usually those retail for about $20 a piece. But the huge box set is absolutely insane, because it has 6 DVDs of live video content. It has 6 vinyl pieces in there. It has 14 CDs and a lot of other shit, like there's a coffee table book, and there's always like the little extra stuff in there. It looks like there's some magazine cover reprints. Looks like there's lyric sheet reprints. It looks like there's some backstage pass prints with a lanyard and some pics. But the amount of stuff that is involved in that is so crazy. For $240 for the remastered box, absolutely insane. Because, of course, you get 2 vinyl. It's going to be the remastered Black Album. And then you've got the Sad But True picture disc. And then you've got Live at Wembley Stadium, and it looks like here you also have Live at Moscow Music Peace Festival. That's the one where they're always showing the videos where they're playing Harvester of Sorrow, and the Russian soldiers are beating the crowd. That's crazy shit. And then, of course, the CD number 1, you get the album remastered. Then CD 2 is the David Frick tape interviews. CD 3 is the Shirazi tape interviews. CDs 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are all either demos, rough mixes, riff tape things, and just like pre-production shit. So that's the stuff that I would be interested in personally, because obviously, we've heard the album millions of times already. That and the live shit that's in there, which it looks like CDs 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 are all live CDs. So those are all that. And then the DVDs, like you get a year and a half in the life of Metallica outtakes. You have some live shit, Binge and Purge era stuff, some stuff with Ross Halfin in there. So it's a huge set. I believe is the most expensive one that they've released yet, but it is also the most content. Make sure you guys are clicking the links to the bands below, the official websites, the Bandcamp pages, the YouTube pages, the Spotify playlist. Without being able to play shows, this is the only way these guys can make any kind of money. So please, click those links, show your support, and help these people out, because they are the ones that need it the most. Also, thank you to the sponsors, Mom's Music, Maxwell's House of Music. Go get your gear from those places. Check out Bert, Bobby, Brooks, Howard, and Mike at both of the stores. Click the links, momsmusic.com, maxwellshouseofmusic.com. I also want to say, anywhere you can get this podcast, you can get the Wrestling Steve Show, the It's Gonna Get Weird podcast, and the Night Demon Heavy Metal podcast. So please, after you're done listening to this show, listen to these people as well. They have great content, super fucking rad people. Check them out. Also, Better Days Records, if you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, or you can click below, they have a Discogs page for some really cool, rare shit you can find. So check out Better Days Records. Anyway, let's get into this show. Let's get into some music. Let's listen to some Ryghar. This was actually played on the show with Ryghar back in September of last year, but this is a brand new version of the song. This is the actual mixed version that, not a demo like you heard before. This is from Rygar's Thermesia Eternal album, due out soon. This is In a Land Where the Sun Never Sleeps. All right, this is a little bit of a different show today. This is going to be a reforged episode because back in September of 2020, I featured Ryghar Highwind from the band Ryghar, and I have him again today on the line, and we have the bass player, which is Whiteclaw Nohelm. Guys, what the fuck is up?
What's up? Glad to be here.
Hails.
Dudes.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks for having us.
So this is a reforged episode, so this is a little bit different, like I said. So you guys have been working meticulously on Thermesia Eternal, the album, the full length. Here we are about 9 months later, and you're still not done, right?
We're done. We're done with our end now. We've been waiting for the mixing and mastering to come back.
Nice.
I record my bass part and that's it. And in any band I've been in, my band responsibility is always exempt at recording because I'm ignorant when it comes to that. I just know that I have to play my part really well and then hand it off to someone else to make into a song.
What was that,
Mm-hmm.
Ryghar?
Nohelm's got it. I'll add on to that. He's underselling. Nohelm definitely has a great ear for aesthetic and certain vibe that we're going for. What he means is like Thorgrim and I have done most of the engineering. We've now passed the mixing and mastering off to Mockingbird Studios, and they're kind of in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but he's been hammering away at it. I think his schedule's kind of got caught up with the reintroduction. He's a sound guy daytime and runs his studio Moonlight. So I just got back with him yesterday. We should be seeing the final end product of the mixing and mastering within days. So it is done. We've just been waiting to make sure everything's up to our extremely high standards. It's a first release that we really want to introduce all of the lore, the story with sound quality worthy of, the epic tale we're trying to tell everyone.
Definitely. And I think it's got to be what you want it to be, because if you have regrets about releasing something, then why release it? Why not just go and, make sure it's what you want? I've done that personally several times where it's like, I really wish I would have said this lyric here. Or, maybe we should have cut out that 20-second part because it just kind of drags.
Yeah, we've had those thoughts, especially knocking the rust off, preparing for next year, which we'll touch on, talking about Legions of Metal and Bob's Festival that he's putting on.
Hell yeah.
Whiteclaw and I have been sitting and kind of getting the rest of the group together and reintroducing parts of the music that maybe we haven't visited since the initial recording and stuff. And there's definitely interludes and things that they were really great at, I feel like, catching a moodiness that I wanted with the song, but we're like, holy crap, there's a whole minute of the rest of the song that we already said it, or man, that would have been cool if I would have said that. You always have that, but you also, as an artist, need to be able to walk away from a product when you know that it's like, hey, this piece is done. Let's focus our efforts on something new.
Right. And you can't have anything that's too watered down either.
Of course.
Because if you have that, then the audience and your audience is going to know that it's watered down, and that's not the impression you want to leave.
Absolutely.
For sure.
You have anything to add, Whiteclaw?
Yeah, we've the rest of the crossover guys in Ryghar who are also in Black Jackal, we've been kind of simultaneously recording both albums. So we'll have one night where we knock out Ryghar stuff that week, and then one night where we knock out Black Jackal. Or we'll have to wait on something or someone to do a part. So we'll switch back and forth. So it's been really productive. I mean, we basically recorded 2 albums in 1 year.
Oh, 3.
The Black Jackal stuff.
Our parts on the Gopong. Sorry, I didn't mean to, but like 3 if you count the Gopong album.
Yeah, that's true. Cause Mike has his solo project that everyone's been kind of putting their own piece in, which is one thing that's cool about that band, because it has a little bit of everyone. We have a lot of local talent, a lot of musicians who are really good. I didn't play on the album, but I helped with the photography, and that was really fun. And we definitely haven't squandered our quarantine plague time.
Definitely. Which, looking up the other projects here like Black Jackal. That's gonna, so Forever War is the album that you're talking about,
right?
And
that's the one that's coming out June 30th.
Yeah, so 5 days from now.
Yeah,
that's rad. I love the artwork to that too. I love great black and white penciled artwork because I think it's a stark look. And this
it is
so much detail.
I think it's better when you have, it definitely stands out more when you have more detail in black and white. The simpler stuff in black and white can get kind of boring. But we had a Diablo Macabre on Instagram, but he did all that, and he did it in a decent amount of time too. I'm not very artistic. I'm not good at drawing or painting or anything, but I have really vivid imagery in my head, and I'm good at using words to describe it. And he just fucking nailed it. He did exactly what I wanted. I sent him paragraphs of like hellscapes and cemeteries and dimensions and gigantic necrolithic beings, and he just totally got it all in one shot. So that was great.
That is great amazing. And going back to the Ryghar stuff here, Thermesia Eternal, artwork done by Wormwalk, super rad fucking guy. Follow him on Instagram. He had a birthday here recently too, so shout out to him.
Happy birthday, Jerry.
Happy birthday, Wormwalk.
Yeah. Break kayfabe, give his real name.
Yeah.
No, seriously, Wormwalk on Instagram. Just look at some of the rad shit he does. He's done so much awesome fucking art, and now he started to do these time-lapse videos where he's doing the painting and stuff.
They're great.
It's so fucking good. And he allows people to ask questions. He's extremely responsive to people, and it's super cool because especially it's like, well, what do you like to listen to when you paint? Well, I like to listen to Donna Summer, and it's like, what?
Yeah. A little bit of everything. If I could cut in there and talk a little bit about Jerry's been a really awesome new friend that I made, not just doing business with him for the album art. I think most people are familiar with that's coming out with the cassette is the Warrior Ogrim on the front of the Thermesia Eternal. We also have an alternative one that's just the Empty Kingdom of Thermesia that's going to be for when we press vinyl, like a 12 by 12 inch. And he not only did a great job on that, but me as a contracted artist for a living, we constantly can talk about different things, pointers about artwork. I bought books from the guy. I mean, he's learned in a lot of different ways, and just a really, really interesting cat all around. He's got a really interesting, I guess, perspective on life that I don't find a lot of my friends do, just from, his unique background and expertise. He's also, I believe, a professor in economics.
Yes.
Or he teaches economics.
Right.
Which is great, because sometimes when I'm taking an article about something that's happening in current events, not to get into politics or anything like that, but I'll just be like, hey, can you dumb this down for me for a second? He was like, okay, so basically this is this is this is this is this. So I was like, okay, thanks, man. I didn't want to get the wrong idea.
Yeah, dude is super articulate and just like makes you feel like
one of the few non-band members that we consider one of the Silver Company. He's the erudite imagery wizard.
Definitely.
Honestly, like as soon as I saw, the amazing artwork he's done for Iron Age, the stuff most people, new fans, are familiar with. He's done a lot of stuff for Frozen Soul that's beautiful, just really detailed, gory. I mean, some great stuff for like some, dungeon synth bands and things. And when I saw just his use of moodiness and color, he did a few series of a Journey of a Wizard, and I messaged him. I was like, hey man, I'm in the midst of writing this album, but like, I don't want anyone else to paint for it. And we'll be doing more collaborations besides the obvious album arts to come in the several album series with the story of Ryghar. We've got a few other plans in the works.
Nice.
Possibly a collection of short stories, kind of flesh out more of the lore, as well as we've actually started on it. But Jeff Blackwell in Cloaked, who's featured on our track on Thermesia Eternal, Temple of the Crystal Spire, he's going to be engineering and writing ambient music for when I say compilation album, it's not necessarily a bunch of different bands just throwing random tracks on there. It's us, and I don't want to name the other bands yet because I really want to give them the chance to write and commit to it. But some pretty cool people that people know about. And we're all coming together each band's going to maybe have 3 tracks telling a part of a story that Jeff then, through his engineering and his ambient music, ties in all together to a really, really unique piece of art. I took it as an opportunity, and Jeff really liked the idea too of, kind of this overarching super group now. We all get to kind of write an album together with our bands when we normally wouldn't get to work together. So I think it's a great opportunity for, if you're fans of any of the bands or just, heavy metal and ambient metal in general, you might like that a lot. So keep your ears down for that. We'll be making announcements after That
sounds rad as hell. And the things too, what I wanted to hit on really fast too about the artwork, couple things. For one, you're an artist as well. So for you did you have any kind of trouble contracting the art out? Did you want to try and take a stab at it yourself, or was it something that you always wanted to say, you know what, I don't want to have to worry about that?
Sometimes you delegate because you're like, I'll leave it up to somebody who's better than me. In this case, I can paint and I can draw very specific things I've trained myself to do. When I saw his artwork, I not only saw it as a chance to contract and delegate to somebody with much more experience in that type of painting, but also it's nice to kind of put your idea and imagery and, ambience in someone else's hands and see what happens when it passes through their filter. And what we got was a really, really, things that maybe I don't imagine even sometimes that just really add to the richness of the atmosphere. The more people that share it and contribute to it, I feel like it makes it a richer, more lifelike environment. That's what everything is around us.
No, definitely. And I think everybody has that guy that they go to. I go to Among Flies, Jared Spicer. He's fucking super fucking rad.
He's great.
I go to him. He does the stuff. He actually did a tattoo on my leg here back in May. Super fucking cool stuff. Then, for the longest time, Haunt and Trevor's bands and the people he was working with, they all went to Bronca, and then they ended up going to Pitforge. So I think everybody has that guy that they go to, and it's so cool to see. It's like noticing a Frazetta piece. And exactly that it's a Frazetta piece. It's like, that's fucking Frank Frazetta. I
can spot Jerry's art, or the Pitforge like you were talking about.
Right.
He actually, when we did the release of our lyric video with the New Wave of True Heavy Metal album full channel on YouTube, I guess it really struck him as something interesting and refreshing. And he did some great artwork that I then contacted him about. And I was like, hey man, we love this. Can I pay you and use it as a design for some merch? And he was like, well, I wasn't trying to sell you. I just really liked their song, but he was like, yeah, go ahead, man. And I paid him some money, and our patches are actually done by the Pitforge guy you were talking about, who did Haunt and that little group's artwork predominantly. He's got a very, very specific style that I like a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Very graphical.
It's very, very graphic, and it's almost, what's the best way to put it? It's almost like animated to a degree, but it's not. It's like using real world imagery, but it's kind of just illustrated, which is kind of cool. And I've always dug that, even when I saw
reminds me of those cool post-future comics from back in the day. When they're like, oh, it's this cowboy guy, but they're on Mars or something. It's even the stuff that, of course, Frazetta, Boris Vallejo, Julie Bale were famous for doing the high-end oil paintings of. You still have this great pulp, a lot more of a pop. When I say pop, I don't mean that it's cheap, but it's a lot more graphical of a style. So you have this integration of the realistic and the fantastic in a very, very cut and dry manner that kind of cements it all together in a very surreal way. Definitely. Almost liminal.
Which is so funny that you mentioned the Frazetta oil paintings. And I was watching a documentary on Frazetta's life, and the stuff that man had done was ridiculous. Because he would do rough drafts of things, and they would give him a deadline. So it's like, all right, Frank, you need this by April 15th. And he would put off the process until 2 or 3 days before, and would be with a hair dryer, drying between layers, because, holding the hair dryer to the painting so he could get it done in 2 days. And it's like, dude, that's... And you see the work that the man has done, and it's like, holy shit. And to know that, there are not many out there for collecting purposes, that's another thing that's, rad as shit, because you can't go and buy a Frazetta original because they're all owned by the family. I think one of the only people who have any originals, and he has 3 of them, is George Lucas.
Yeah.
So it's
really cool.
Shit that's super cool to me, because I'm like, George Lucas is a Frazetta nerd too.
Yeah, I think we all are. I mean, go ahead.
Frazetta, Ken Kelly doing that most recent Eternal Champion album was fucking awesome.
Amazing.
I lost my shit. I wrote Jason maybe the beginning of the year, last year, and I was talking about congratulating him on the artwork and stuff. That is momentous. And also for that genre, you know, Ken Kelly also does, I think, most if not all, like the studio album covers for Manowar.
Oh, really?
And of course,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then he did some of like the Kiss album covers, Destroyer and Love Gun back in the day.
Wow.
So
you know that is so.
It's cool how far those artists go. You know, Frazetta, Ken Kelly.
Oh, like absolutely.
We've been staring at their works ever since we were little. Yeah, and we didn't even know it was them, and now we're enamored with them.
Well, yeah, Michael Whelan as well.
Well, I know you can you can actually license any Frazetta work still for album, which is super cool too, because you just have to hit up Frazetta girls like Sarah, Frank's granddaughter. And she's super receptive. She'll shoot you a price. If it's something that's part of the family trust, the price is usually higher because the whole family is involved with it. So it's actually really cool. And you're right. It's interesting how far those hands reach. You know, that
a friend of ours owns a clothing brand called Between Valhalla and Hell, and he's actually done some collaborative work with Sarah.
Nice.
So there's going to be some really cool stuff. Black Jackal has an exclusive merch design that they're going to be doing with Between Valhalla and Hell, and Ryghar is in works with it too. So you're going to see a lot of sharing in between the 3 groups. Andre, who runs it, it's very, very deeply knowledgeable and great artist, and he does a lot for anyone he collaborates with or for his clients. I mean, if you just like cool, like most of the stuff's based off of different things like mythology, folklore from different cultures, and it's just really cool stuff. Basically, sometimes he even designs like, okay, let's say you like wearing metal merch and stuff. Here's some cool shit you're into that's not a band, you know, but it's still like great style. So it's a cool brand that does a lot of different things, but I'm really looking forward to his collaboration with the Frazetta girls. That's going to be super cool.
Hell yeah, because I mean, even just like talking to him on like social media and watching the videos that Sarah was putting out, it's just super down to earth, super respectful of, you know, Frank's work and everything. Just ridiculous.
Which is like, imagine that's your grandpa. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh, man.
It's like, yeah,
I have enough pressure doing artwork for my friends, but when one of my friends is like, oh, hey, can you just make me one of those old Frazettas? Oh, man. But yeah, her work's great too. I love that she kind of takes and does her own thing with her own artwork and isn't caught in the shadow. I imagine that's a difficult thing to do when you have a famous person in your family who's just like so iconic.
Oh, definitely. For sure. And the thing is you can see a lot of Frank's work and what she does, and it's just like, wow, she definitely got the artistic bug from him, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, especially things about like anatomy and lighting.
Definitely. Like
just really dynamic lighting and very stark.
And her
contrast on the anatomy is just powerful.
Her Vampirella, and I know she did an exclusive cover for one of the comics here a while back. Her Vampirella looks pretty much just like Frank's, and it's like you almost can't tell them apart, because you can a little bit, but like it's like holy shit.
Yeah, so, super cool.
All right, I'm really digging this so far, this Reforged Ryghar episode here. So we're going to take a real quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk some more with these guys. Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code METALFORGE10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com. Hey, are y'all in a band? Do you need merch for shows? By now I'm sure you've seen all the Metal Forge patches that are available, along with many more. Well, the printer I use for those is UKR Patcher. Check them out on Facebook and Etsy. They do awesome custom work and for extremely affordable prices for any band budget. Check them out, UKR Patcher on Facebook and Etsy. Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. To distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code METALFORGE to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now. We hit on something a second ago, well, a few minutes ago actually, that I want to bring up. Legions of Metal 4 is actually happening in May of 2022. We're still waiting on dates and, the exact dates and the exact ticket times and so on and so forth. But you guys are playing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did that work out for you guys? Because I think I remember seeing you all on the list for it when they put out the announcement last year before it got canceled.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So Bob's really had a rough time just with the pandemic tying his hands. And he's just fantastic. He does so much for all the bands, big and small. He's kept up with me every step of the way. The first one we were scheduled to play, which was during the, shelter-in-place order, canceled. The second one, he did his best to kind of reconstitute the lineup there. And that one, of course, got canceled because the vaccines weren't rolling out in time. But he's already got, a halfway one happening in October, the 3.5, I believe it is.
Definitely.
And then the one we were playing in May. And we're going to be active about supporting both. Like, if I have the time, I'd love to go out to it. I mean, one of the things we're looking forward to the most is going to a city like Chicago I've never been to and seeing a bunch of awesome metal. As soon as Bob included us on it, just waves of people that are a part of this huge heavy metal family in Chicago started showing support, becoming interested in the band and other bands. And we're just really grateful to get to share the stage with some really awesome people and get to play a show put on by a really awesome guy.
Definitely. And there are some really heavy hitters on here, friends of the Metal Forge, like Throne of Iron, Silver Talon, Fire by Sword. Oh my God. Midnight Dice. There's so many awesome, bands that are going to be on the show already. Not to mention the headliners, like Vane, Slowfeg, Fifth Angel, and the Rods, I understand the lineup did change a little bit, but some of these, I'd be like, I'm probably going to come to this show.
Yeah, well,
so I mean, it's like 5 hours for me, so I would definitely be coming to this. And you're right, he was doing the Legions of Metal, what he's calling 3.5, which is featuring Raven, Destructor, High Spirits, and quite a few other bands, which is super fucking cool too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a really cool opportunity. And I don't know if they're still on the bill, but I know I was excited for us to be playing with Midas.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're still
Detroit?
on the poster.
Yeah, awesome, good news.
And see, that's another one of those. That's another one of those telltale logos of who's done the work. Which I can tell that's a Pitforge creation.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the guy knows how to make the classic chrome, even in gold, and look amazing.
Yes, very much so. So it all ties back together.
Yeah. Fun fact: Midas Anthony, he does Heavy and Beyond booking and also designs, and they're the ones who did the cover for the first Black Jackal release for Rock and Roll Nightmare.
Wow.
So they came back in 2018, I think. They came and hung out and did some guest DJing, And then Midas came not too long after that, and I got to see them play. So I got my fucking Midas shirt, and I know they have like vinyl now and stuff too. But it's cool. It's cool to be on the same bill, and it's cool. I feel like one thing that I try to do, and I think I've definitely brought to Ryghar, is I try to surround myself with cool and talented and hardworking people, and there's a lot of collaboration going on, and a lot of sharing of ideas. And it's funny. I have a lot of horror movies that I'm like die hard into, like The Thing and Alien and stuff. And I feel like one of the driving forces behind great movements and great works of art and great film and great music is you have a bunch of different people working on it, at the same time. Whereas nowadays, that was back then. Like Alien, for example, you have H.R. Giger and Ridley Scott and all these amazing, super talented people just coming up, and they want their hand at something. They want to prove themselves, and then they do, and then they go on to do great things. But I feel like a lot of forms of art now, it's just like one person, and there's not that influence from a bunch of great people. And that's something I think shows with Ryghar, with who we work with a lot of our local scene. Bringing up Rosetta earlier, Sarah, I got one of her Vampirilla sketches for my fiance. There's just so much great art and talent and opportunity around. And I think it's really important to have really good working relationships and to make things happen with people.
For sure. You mentioned the Alien artwork with Giger and Ridley Scott. It makes me wonder, did Ridley Scott how did he already know of Giger? Did he look at like brain salad surgery from ELP and say, I want that guy? I say that because that album from ELP came out in 1974, which Alien wasn't until 79. Yeah. So that artwork, Giger was already on the map at that point. It's just interesting how that stuff happens.
He found him, for sure. He found him by going through, I believe it was Necronomicon.
Oh wow! And
then he came across the alien looking figure and said that this one has to be in the movie. That this is the movie, and it's a lot different than the original concept too. Predator, the original Predator was like some insect thing with like 4 legs, and
cool.
They got like Stan Winston involved, and it's what it is now. Right. And that's the thing though. It's because they get so many talented, hardworking people involved, and it makes something like legendary. And I think that's the real trick to having great music and great art, and to getting done what you really want. Because
everybody brings their A game from a million different angles, and you come up with something totally unique, once in a chance. It'll only happen like that kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's like everyone's a piece of a puzzle.
Right.
And that's really what we're going for. Rob brought me in. The critical point, the critical turning point was us being offered Legions of Metal Fest, and being able to like open for Exciter, and play with those bands like Midas and Throne of Iron. And that's really what made me commit and get serious about it, because originally I was going to record bass on the recordings, and then once Rob started hanging out with the rest of us and getting to know Mike and getting to know Devin. Sorry, I don't know their stage names.
That's okay.
But and then we started taking what Rob had, and Devin's an amazing guitarist. Mike's a great musician.
And engineer.
And engineer. I'm sure we'll get to Silverlance Productions here in a little bit. which is Mike and Rob doing their new production company, and they've come a long way. These albums, I have no problem with saying that it was recorded in a bedroom atmosphere, and they really brought everything up, and the musicianship's there, the vision is there, and there are a bunch of pitfalls, and Mike and Rob have had to work through a bunch of issues, and they've gotten, they spent at least hundreds of dollars on recording equipment, Probably a lot more.
Definitely.
But
well, that's the difference these days, is because now the home recording gig is so upfront and in your face that you can do pretty much what a normal studio is doing, with just a few plugins. And I understand I say this and somebody's going to fucking hit me and say, no, dickhead, that's not how it should be done. You should record a 2-inch tape and nothing digital and go straight analog, no automation, nothing. And I get it.
Hey man, as soon as they start paying us like they did in the 80s, we'll all go to 2-inch tape. A lot of us don't have that option. It's either make do with what you can find, like we're crazy heavy metal pirates scavenging in this heap of technology, or you don't get to make music.
Exactly.
And if you're going to be mad at me that every now and again I sound replace the snare, well, you can eat my ass. Where's your album?
Right? Well, I mean, the thing is, the home recording gig is so much more cost-effective for the artist, and it actually forces, I think, a lot of people to learn how to record.
Yeah, you have to start thinking a lot more three-dimensionally about your songwriting process, too, about what's realistic. You can't just layer 5 million plugins on a thing and then not be able to produce it live, unless you're just like a bedroom black metal band. There's nothing wrong with that. I love a lot of groups that do that. But one thing, when I got to do some engineering a lot on the back end of Forever War with Black Jackal, and I learned a lot working with a lot more of a rock and roll thrash influenced group like that. Rygar's a little more slowed down 80s influence and ambient, but you cannot sacrifice raw violence. It needs to be loud. It needs to be real. And there needs to be things like little outlier notes. Like when it gets too cleaned up, it sounds mechanical. I forget there's some German fans that discovered the Rygar when all I had was drum programming because I hadn't found members yet. And they were like, this band would be great. And they have a slang term for it, but it basically translates to robotic humping drum machine.
Yeah. I remember talking about that the last time.
That's something that stuck with me, is that we all know that Europe is probably the largest concentration of metal fans of anything. I mean, South America too. It's all over the world, but these kids they're digging up. I mean, shit, man, I was recording out of my apartment. I maybe had Kyle involved at that point, and we were found. And they're like, oh, hey guys, they're updating in these forums and stuff. And that's the kind of stuff me and my friends did, of course, digging through stacks for records, but if the record's already there, they made it. The cool thing about the internet is you kind of have this living, breathing, growing thing with your bands and your fans. There's somebody who loves your music somewhere. It's just about being able to actually get to the point. Yeah. Well, and being able to get to the point to make your music. And that studio price point, a lot of times, will stop bands dead.
Right. Because they don't know how to do it, because again, I think, and here's the thing, we talk about 2-inch tape and everything, and I know, joking about it, we would all do it if we had the disposable income to do it.
Yeah, if record labels paid you to sit on your ass for 6 months and go in the last 2 months and just knock this stellar record out.
Right.
Well, 500 people are planning your tour and you got hotels the whole way. That's not the reality of music anymore.
No, not anymore. And even still, unless you were on some ridiculous level like a Motley Crue or Def Leppard, going straight into 80s here. Unless you were on some kind of level like they were, I mean, I don't think Metallica was staying in any hotels. Could be wrong.
They probably own hotels now.
Well, yeah, they own the hotel now.
Going back to the studio recording, honestly, I think of 4 songs, three songs on Forever War were originally recorded back in 2019 at a studio. I'm not gonna like bash the studio or anything. They're friends of mine, and I've known them for years. That's who we recorded our last release with. But we had, and it wasn't necessarily their fault, but we did have some issues. I think when Devin was recording guitars, we went through about 2 heads, and that was a night. Yeah, that was a nightmare in itself. And just having stuff like that happen is definitely alleviated by having your recording center at home with you. And when I say bedroom, it's we didn't just sit on the bed and press play. Mike has a pretty, you sat at the fucking table and press play. highwind.
Hey,
but Mike has a really good setup too. Go ahead.
Back in the day, I have actually recorded in the bedroom where we did sit on the bed and hit record, and honestly, it still sounds pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, man, one of the things is it gives the artists a little more control over what their sound is. I'm not saying that all studio guys are Glenn Fricker, but sometimes they go in there, maybe they heard your stuff before or only live, or maybe they haven't heard you at all. And you get like a prog metal guy who thinks that all things that aren't prog metal are just garbage. So when you're telling them, hey man, the guitars sound kind of flat, or hey, those drums kind of, you scooped all the mids out of the guitars and the drums. And I get creating space on the track is important, but you got to find a happy balance between what the artist wants and what the studio wants. With that same spirit, as much as I have an idea of how I want the sound to be when I hire, like how I hired an outside engineer to do the final mix and master, I'll tell them what I want from it. And I'll be like, I know I can't get not like 10 out of 10 of this, but like if we can find a really happy medium, we'll end up with the quality that you need, that that we need, with the sound that I want. So when you're recording it yourself, though, you get, I've heard it's kind of like really good garbage,
Oh, yeah.
It's like, wow, this is all wrong according to sound engineering school, but it still rips,
Right. Let's take a real quick break, and then we're going to come back with some general profile questions with Rob and Kyle from Ryghar and the Silver Company here at the Metal Forge.
Hey guys, Wrestling Steve of the Wrestling Steve Show here. So if you're currently listening to the Metal Forge with Mark Jackson, then you understand that Mark Jackson has a pretty discerning taste when it comes to music as a whole. You'll also understand that he has a discerning taste for professional wrestling, just like me. My show is called The Wrestling Steve Show. I talk about modern and classic pro wrestling in a completely unbiased, unfiltered way. Be sure to check me out on all available podcasting platforms. That is The Wrestling Steve Show. And I am the host, Wrestling Steve. Just remember, like Confucius said, man who goes through turnstile in Thailand is going to Bangkok. Pro wrestling.
Hey, it's Mark Maxwell at Maxwell's House of Music. Listen, all this stuff is now available to purchase on our website. Check it out at maxwellshouseofmusic.com.
We carry all the top brands, like Fender.
We got Gibson.
We also have basses.
We've got ukuleles.
We got drums.
We've got sound gear.
We've got keyboards.
All right. Rob, you've been here before. You know this segment. It's the general profile questions. So answer where you can. Kyle, these are for you too. I just like to know what make people tick. So, what song do you listen to before you play every show?
I was going to let Whiteclaw, do you have one?
I think one that we listen to pretty regularly would be Summer Wine by I believe it's Nancy Sinatra.
Okay.
I really like the song The Metro by Berlin, because that bass line is so fucking good. And like when I'm practicing or warming up or just hanging out in the living room, like watching TV, playing my bass, I'll see how fast and how many times I can repeat that bass line before I fuck up.
Definitely. Hell yeah.
I personally, go ahead. I like to listen to a whiter shade of pale by Procol Harum.
Like legit
old R&B. Yeah, my father played R&B most of his life, and so I grew up with those sounds. Percy Sledge, The Temptations.
That's great, though. I mean,
so a lot of old R&B is, it sounds like my childhood. So definitely. and he's really, really passionate, intense vocal melodies, and organs are a big deal to me. Keys.
Oh yeah.
That 60s and 70s sound is hugely influential. Like when I'm writing songs, I hear that.
That Melodyne sound, or the Moog sound that's in there. Absolutely, for sure. Fucking, you can't get any more in that era with those, for sure. So,
what about you, man? Is there a song you listen to before you play a show?
Personally, I've always had
break your heart.
Yes, that's.
I'm just joking.
Honestly, there was a time where I did listen to something from Motorhead before every show.
Well, that's eternal. I mean, Lemmy is the god beyond time and space of rock and roll.
But it was I've always tried to listen to something that has put me in a pumped up mood to play the show. So,
I wouldn't be surprised if Lemmy listened to Lemmy before he went to play the show.
You know, there's
Because
we had
only
rules
Lemmy
about
can
that.
inspire Lemmy.
Overload at one
Oh,
time
don't
had a
listen to your own
rule about
music,
that.
of course,
Yeah,
yeah.
do not listen to your music the day of a show, because if you do, you will play a terrible show.
Yeah. I mean, we even had the rules like if you're going to see a band, don't listen to music on the way there. Like, let it hit your ears.
Don't listen to their music. Yes, I have that rule myself. So metalheads are usually really eclectic people, right? We're artists, a lot of us visual artists, as well as, you know, being able to play instruments and stuff. But we also collect a lot of things. You know, we're collectors of things, you know. So what do you all collect personally?
Well, I DJ records. I do Metal Mondays, and it's a cool opportunity to put what I collect to good use. I also make money to buy more records, thereby kind of perpetuating it. Yeah, I DJ, so I collect a lot of records, mostly metal. I'd say my favorite is like black metal, black thrash, go figure. Heavy metal, death metal. I have a lot of, but not as much. Just, you know, like records are fucking awesome. You have the artwork, you know, a square foot in front of you, and you can sit there and analyze it. You know, holding the record and the booklet in your hand. It doesn't really compare. So I collect a lot of analog. Not as much cassettes like tapes,
Right.
but records for sure. So records, I collect a lot of artwork. I don't have any original like Frazetta pieces or anything. I do have a really old one from like the 70s. It's like a 70s reproduction on like some sort of wood in like a framed painting. I found it at like some video game store.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
They didn't know what the fuck it was. They gave it to me for $40.
Oh man, what a steal!
Yeah,
Right?
it's the Silver Warrior, the one with the warrior on the sled with the polar bears.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I have a lot of like Frazetta. I have a piece of artwork from the original Giger Museum in Switzerland.
Dude, that's rad.
It's like it's like a museum poster with like his artwork on it. So I like surrounding myself with art. I like surrounding myself with music. It's really creative. Makes a really good atmosphere.
Definitely, I can go with that.
Yeah. So those are two things that I collect, and I actively collect, and I'll find something every once in a while. I really like getting records from like Hell's Headbangers and the Nuclear War Now, and our local record hub here in San Antonio, Hogwild, just reopened like a week or two ago.
For sure. Dude, that's like, yeah, the Hell's Headbangers stuff, they put out so much music. It's ridiculous.
What I like to collect, I mean, I definitely collect records, and if I can get art prints too. One thing that I like to collect is like I collect books on the occult, or me and Whiteclaw will actually like go through like half price books and dig through the paperbacks and, you know, buy the old paperbacks that have like Frazetta or Boris Vallejo or Michael Whelan artwork. I also collect, I haven't collected antique furniture because we have a theme at my apartment with my girlfriend. All of my stuff looked like it was from Interview with the Vampire, but I used to collect like I had a white leather sofa that was like built in the 1800s in Delaware. It was fucking awesome. But I mean, I collect statuettes. I'm a practitioner of Western ceremonial magic, so accoutrement with that. Sometimes knives, swords. I've a pretty nice small collection of armor and armament of different types, which is also, you know, what I wear on stage. And music equipment, of course. I actually just got this really cool Explorer knockoff I'm about to dig the pickups out of and put some better ones in, maybe install like a cool pick guard.
Hell yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I also like to even just go to thrift shops and find, you know, cool old paintings, like how Kyle was able to find that Frazetta print. You'd be surprised what you can find. I found like a really nice old oil painting of a clipper ship that, if they knew what they had, was probably much more expensive than they thought. Landscape paintings, all of these things that can seem normal on the surface have deep magic within them that you can use when you're building worlds, when you're building songs, when you're building artwork yourself and things. So.
Absolutely, for sure.
Going back, I collect blades. I have have a decent collection going, maybe 6 or 7. I have one really old one that I found at like a flea market. It's like early 1900s. I can't trace it exactly, and I've even sent, because I know Jason Tarpey from Eternal Champion and Iron Age. You know, he does like the blade forging and whatnot. I've asked him like where exactly he thinks it's from, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet. But it's a short sword, and it's like welded, so it's like post-industrial. But blades are something I like a lot. And then
it looks like a one-handed messer that somebody grinded down into like almost a half falchion. It's fucking cool.
Yeah,
that's insane.
And then I have a friend of mine who has like a propane forge, and he blasted like all the rust off and redid the handle and everything. Another and probably the best for last. I like going bone hunting, so I'll take my dog like hiking to like some of the hiking parts and around San Antonio, and I'll find some like really cool like pieces of animal and animal bone, and we use that on stage for Black Jackal. And I like to send it out like when people order merch, I'll send out like a half burned Bible page, and then like a piece of bone or like a jawbone or something.
That's awesome though. I mean, because it's like I'm saying that's awesome because that's like a personal touch. That's just like, you know, if you've ever ordered anything online and there's a special instruction note on there, do you ever put anything in it? Chances are probably not. But I know somebody who would say, draw a giraffe smoking a pipe, and the people would do it. And so it's a personal touch, and doing stuff like that, that's rad as shit. And I don't think a lot of people do stuff like that. So keep that up for sure.
Yeah, it's fun, and it keeps it alive. It's not like of course I love animals, but animal bones are fair game.
Right. Well,
and it's cool. It's interesting. Like you said, it adds that touch. Like instead of just sending like a shirt or a CD or a patch or something, it's like they get like a whole little package.
Well, absolutely, and for sure. No, I agree. And the cool thing is, I actually had just ordered a CD. Just a CD from a band, and their record label. What band was it? It's Grave Ripper, actually, from here in Indiana, in Indianapolis, actually. And
nice.
Wise Blood Records actually had sent it, and I haven't posted the picture of it yet, but I'm going to. They actually sent it with a handwritten thank you card that was wax sealed.
That's super cool.
And I was just like, holy shit, dude, that's fucking rad. I've never received anything from a band like that. Never had that. And
that's awesome.
It's really cool to get bands and people that do stuff like that. It makes it, like I said, it makes it more personal. It makes me feel good as a fan.
Yeah, dude, I think the world, and for lack of a better term, the metal scene would be a lot maybe closer, definitely a lot cooler if more people like rode each other.
Oh yeah, back in the day.
I love writing. I know I don't always have time, but I try to write whenever, or like when we have a cool patch coming out, and I'll send it off, and if it's someone I know, I'll write them a letter, and sometimes I get written back, and that's the coolest fucking thing ever.
Nice. See, and it's things like that are, quote, nostalgic now that still mean something to this day. At least they do to me anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, the correspondence between artists seems like something that was a lot more active back in the days. And one of the things I think you asked me about last time was like, how do you feel like the internet changes things nowadays? And there is a little more interconnectivity. I talked to a couple of collectors, people who have even like something as cool and simple as like a local swap. They'll swap records and tapes and kind of facilitate small events for other people to come maybe get access to some things that the bands aren't putting out anymore. Even with patches and things. And I know some patch makers, they're like, oh man, you resold my patch or you gave my patch to someone else. That's terrible. But once the patch is out there, it belongs to whoever bought it, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
It's not like they're reproducing it. But, these personal touches, like sharing all the things, it's what brings us all together to appreciate the things that we like. I think that metal's a transformative thing. It's an amalgamation of course, the central piece being great songwriting, good music, and then the imagery and ambience that we all create together creates an otherworldly experience, and it attracts all of us because most of the shit nowadays is fucking lame. So it's kind of cool when Friday night you can go watch some band dress up as Terminator, shoot laser pistols, and sing some like sick ass fucking music about destroying the universe. And then when you buy like
I
a
want to
record
see
from
that
them,
band.
there's like light up in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Who
hey,
is
man,
that? Is that actually somebody?
Patent pending, man. That's my side project.
What?
I just called it. No, I'm
Holy
kidding.
shit.
I'm joking.
That's great.
Yeah, but there's great things like that. Like, not just so that it helps the style and look of the band, but like everything you do with intent and will. And you transform everything around you. You know, I do this artwork, what Kyle talked about, surrounding himself with great artwork and music. You create an environment to create within. You know, if you follow ancient Egyptian mythology, said that man was not descended of the gods, but of the gods. It's your divine right and inheritance to create. It can be something as small as you wrote a poem, a song. It can be something as large as you create an entire universe. You know, I have a big thing about like when I see people who kind of have deeper currents under their creative process, it's usually something that I find really, really interesting. And I like to kind of pick their brain about it.
Definitely. All right, one last break, then we're going to come back. We're going to finish this interview with Kyle and Rob, and we're going to listen to some music, and we're going to rock the fuck out.
Hi, this is Frank Green from the It's Gonna Get Weird podcast, a podcast I host with Scott Clark. You're going to get everything you need on the podcast. Lots of laughs, lots of music, some sports, and maybe some inappropriate shit. Usually that's Scott's forte. Check it out. It's Gonna Get Weird. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and everywhere you get your podcasts online. It's Gonna Get Weird.
Hey, what if you don't get out of here and make it fast? I'm gonna put my foot right in your ass. Oh! Hey!
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
So a question I do like to ask on here, and I think this is a new one since you were on here last, was what is your most unpopular music opinion?
Oh boy, Kyle, take it. Do it.
I think, well, it's kind of a broad topic, I think, or it can be answered different ways. For sure, I think I can speak for like Mike. We're metalheads who don't always like other metalheads, if that makes sense. The way people can be sometimes, and I think because we're so passionate about it and we're so into it that we tend to look at it maybe a little more critically, or we tend to get to know people around us more, and we're like, hey, you're fucking dumb, dude.
I was talking about the story about the first time you ever heard Manowar.
Oh, okay, that's a good one too. But that's a short one. So let me wrap up here. But just, I don't know, kind of touching to what we just talked about. I think metalheads are kind of entitled. I think a lot of metalheads don't do, like, especially black metal. And fuck, do I love black metal? But some black metal dudes, like, just the way they talk and treat people sometimes, you know, they've never been into a fight. They don't fucking breathe fire, like cut themselves on stage. They don't do anything tough, but they're just so like up their own ass about it.
Right.
So the bands they listen to do, and they think that that's them.
Yeah.
In their mom's basement.
Exactly.
Keyboard
100%.
Well,
yeah.
No.
On the internet, everyone's someone else.
Definitely. And I think it's the bonehead mentality. It's like, why do you got to be such a bonehead? You know, that's what I know what you're saying with that. That's where I agree with you. It's like the whole it's
arms crossed. They don't like anything.
That rules.
I love
or the ones, the gatekeepers that are like, you like load and reload. Well, you're not a real Metallica fan. It's like, fuck you. People like what they like, you know?
Yeah, I like the ones who are like arms crossed and they're reviewing like really amazing albums. They're like, this is garbage tier, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, where's your music? They're like, oh, I'm working on it. Don't worry. It's like, it's one thing to appreciate and give like so let's say you as a interviewer and reviewer reviewed an album you didn't like by a band you liked. You'd probably give a thoughtful, few paragraphs explaining your journey through listening to this and the comparisons you make rather than just being like, everything's garbage. I see it with small-time bookers too, like local guys. Mm-hmm. They'll book a couple of good shows, and then they'll talk to other bands like they're garbage, like they are somehow rock stars or anything. I was like, dude, you know what your job is? You sell fucking tickets. Be lucky we even let you come to these shows, you little dweeb.
Right.
Yeah, I've got that a couple of times, like this snooty nose upturn, like, oh, you aren't anything. And then they're sitting there trying to like kiss butt to like the two bands they listen to. And most of the time it doesn't really bother me, even when it's impacted me personally. But you're always going to have, the problem is identity politics. People see something cool that they really admire and they want it to be a part of them. And then they see anybody else that they don't, I guess, vibe with 100% being into it as a threat. So, I mean, I understand like personally loving music that artists make yourself, like, wow, this album's so important to me. But I've never went to a concert and been like, fuck all those assholes over there in green shirts because this band says they don't like green shirts or something, you know, like, and then the band's like, we haven't said that since 1992. We have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, oh man, they sold out.
Right. And
if they had the original keyboard player from 83 here who went to jail because he was a pedophile, he wouldn't stand for this. I'm not calling anyone out specifically, but I mean, you see a lot of really great stuff from the old days and a lot of really great stuff that's carried through. And look at Judas Priest, they're still killing it.
Right.
Haven't slowed down at all. You know, and then you even see some bands coming back from the dead, like Glacier, great example. Amazing American power metal band that I feel like hit their peak like at the wrong time. They were putting out like Vendetta, amazing album. 85
Hell
people
yeah.
had already either moved on to, they like the softcore, like, one of us in this conversation is probably only here because of like power ballads of the 80s. And then the other side of it, they were like total rejection of it. Here comes your Venom. Here comes your Merciful Fate. And then these guys are still trying to play some awesome 80s, like second wave power metal. And they kind of just dropped off, you know, and then with the revival, they get called up like, hey, man, we want you at Up the Hammers. And Mike's like, man, we haven't hit the stage since the 90s. They're like, we're going to give you money. And also these guys want to re-sign you.
Right.
He was like, I'll be there next Thursday. And the new album is great. Yeah, the new album's fantastic. The artwork was done by, what's his name, Kyle? He's your fiance's cousin.
Charles.
The late Charles. That
Daniel.
guy, yeah, he's an amazing artist. R.I.P. to him, too.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he passed away at the beginning of the year on New Year's due to complications with COVID.
No, that's
he did
terrible.
some artwork for some bands we're familiar with too. I think he did some for Riot City as well.
Yeah,
but you know, you have two choices in the world: is you can create and add and leave a legacy of, I guess, power and adventure and creativity, or you can sit there and cross your arms and throw a fit about it.
Right.
So you know, we, like Kyle said, we try not to even entertain that. You know, those terrible Facebook shirts. They're like, "There's two wolves in you." I don't think there's two wolves. There's like two people in you. There's like the one who's actually going to get some shit done and make some cool shit, and then there's the crybaby shit. We just don't put up with crybaby shit. So
definitely, as always, links will be listed below for anybody out there who wants to like, follow, and share Ryghar.
Yes.
Because you should be clicking those links on every band on every week. Click below now, or push pause on the show and then click below. And then come back and listen to the rest of this. Do you have any shout outs you want to give to anybody before we go today?
Go first, Kyle.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm gonna stick to fellow bands, and that's gonna be our group in Ryghar, Black Jackal, and Goat Bong, who isn't here. We've had a hell of a year and we've made it. Texas has so many fucking killer bands. Right now I gotta give a shout out to Steel Bearing Hand from Dallas, Aggravator from San Antonio, Funeral Ash from down near the coast. Fucking Church Aside from Austin.
Yeah.
Killer new like black death metal band. And then Nick, my boy Nick, he's in Trenchant and Imprecation, and they're doing some sick fucking stuff right now too.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
I'd like to shout out our homies in Morgul Blade. They're fucking sick. My homies in Night and Gallow on the West Coast. They're fucking awesome. Their drummer's going to be featured on several tracks on Thermesia Eternal. Definitely happy birthday, Jerry. Wormwalks made our artwork amazing. Same thing with the Black Jackal and Goat Pong boys. We're all putting it in together, putting out great music. Shout out to Hog Wild Records here in San Antonio. Thanks for supporting local music and selling music and merch, and, you know, all the artists. Pit Forge for doing an amazing patch design, and of course the Metal Forge for always having a place where we can talk and discuss anything we want to.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure to be on the show, man.
Definitely. And for being a Reforged episode, it's actually been really fucking cool to not actually have to talk about, well, how did you get your start? You know, we didn't have to do none of that because everybody already listened to the first episode. So it's been more conversation based, which is awesome, and I love it. But thank you seriously for that. We didn't really actually talk about this a minute ago, so technically,
when's the album coming out?
It's exactly what it is. Yes,
Thermesia Eternal is being finished as we speak. Keep it up. I'll probably post a link over to Metal Forge and tag them in it. But within the next few weeks, you're going to have some solid actual dates. I'm courting a few labels. It's very important to us with, you know, the morals and things we have with music. We're kind of gravitating more towards artist-controlled labels. It's just like a personal thing. So the process is a little slower. It's DIY, but it's done with a lot of love. And we're going to be offering, you know, vinyl, tape, of course, digital, as well as a lot of different cool merch to come out with it. You know, you'll be able to come buy it in person at Legions of Metal, and hopefully we'll be able to drop some information soon about that split album. So go follow Ryghar on Instagram, and you'll definitely get some updates very, very soon.
For sure. And again, always links below. Give them a like, a share, and a follow. Final question. What album changed your life?
You can go first, Kyle.
All right. I'm going to have to say Dark Endless by Marduk. I'm a huge black metal fan. I think I got into black metal first and then kind of started working my way back through like thrash and heavy metal and classic shit. But just as a kid, I was always looking for like the heaviest, most evil thing. I fucking loved horror movies. And I was always looking for something that looked like it sounded like a horror movie. And when I came across Marduk and I saw like the Fuck Me Jesus shirt, I was like, oh my god! And the first album I picked up was Dark Endless, and that, you know, those fucking bangers, Still Fucking Dead, Departure from the Mortals, The Funeral Seemed to Be Endless. Fucking that's kind of set the scene for, I think, my musical taste to become what it is now.
That's awesome. That's heavy.
I'll say mine's hard because I either want to talk about 1184 by Windear for the same reason with black metal, but having this powerful, powerful melody presence. But I think I want to say Hall of the Mountain King by Sabotage. It's easy to pick a classic like that, but the riffing was so aggressive and so powerfully present in there. It influenced the way I played guitar, the way I wrote songs. The untoppable vocal performance on that album is just amazing. The titular track is a heavy metal classic. It's definitely in the top 10 for me. Like, I, without fail, have it on every heavy metal playlist. It's just amazing. The ambience, the story there, the actual story of the Hall of the Mountain King is a British thing. It's like some old nationalist stuff that, not like the Nazi stuff, but, you know, Sir Francis Drake and stuff. He was like, I left my drum and play it in Britain's greatest hour of need, and I'll come back. Comes from the old story that King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table are deep under a mountain somewhere. And at the point where Britain needs them the most, they will come to her aid and come forth because they're not dead. They're just sleeping. And it's kind of like some weird Highlander stuff. And I always loved mythology and folkloric stories. So that's kind of what that is, but a darker take on it. It's at the Hall of the Mountain King. The king in there has gone insane after generations and eons under the mountain, having arcane knowledge of between all space and time. Really, really great record. Check it out if you haven't.
Definitely. Hell yeah. Guys, Kyle, Rob, thank you so much for coming on to the Reforged edition of the Ryghar episode. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you and everybody who listens, of course, as always. Thank you all. Now,
hails to the Metal Forge!
Yeah. All right, so, you know, I've really got to ask this now because we're getting near the album's completion, to getting it back. do you have a song already back that we're going to play today? We're going to debut this new song, right?
So today is the first time people will hear Care Vasterhat, A Flaming Sunset on the Parapets of the King of the West. The story about the final King of the West and his final stand against the evil Lich King of the land where the sun never sleeps, and the legacy that he leaves behind broken and torn asunder by the evil Night King. It's really cool.
Holy shit. I was going to say the title again, but that's so much like info. Here it is right now.
Rising and sets in the western
Hey, thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of The Metal Forge. I want to take a minute to remind you guys about the Patreon page. Over on the Patreon page, we have the tiers set up to support the production of the show. We feature the Down and Dirty, which is just $1. There's nothing special for that one, it just sends me a thank you, because every dollar helps. Then there's the Double Down and Dirty. Much akin to the Down and Dirty tier, everything helps produce the show in the end. You make your presence known, and I appreciate that more than you realize. Thank you for being a dedicated friend and supporter of the Metal Forge. By selecting that tier, you will receive some cool Metal Forge stickers in your mailbox. Now, we're really going to start pounding the metal madness with the Apprentice Metalhead for just $5 a month. By becoming an Apprentice Metalhead, you'll be given early access to the shows, published 24 hours before everyone else gets it. You're also going to receive 3 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You're also going to receive a 10% discount on all Metal Forge merch, and you're going to receive a sweet Metal Forge patch for your battle jacket or backpack. And now, here is the big one. This is the Master Metalhead for just $10 a month. By becoming a Master Metalhead, you will receive a hand-numbered Metal Forge Master Metalhead membership card. You're going to be given early access to the shows as well, with 36 hours before everyone else. You're going to receive 5 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You'll be able to submit audio questions that I will use on the show of you asking questions to the upcoming guests. Remember, timing is everything, and you will need to keep up with the upcoming guest list on the website. You're also going to receive advanced knowledge of any new merch coming out and be given a 25% discount on all Metal Forge merch. And you're also going to get all of the other rewards from the other tiers. So visit patreon.com/Metal Forge Radio today and help support the Metal Forge. Rock on.